Part two.
Good morning. You're listening to Holding Ground, the show that brings you a little bit of everything in the realm of psychotherapy and positive mental health. My name is Laura Richer, and I'm a licensed psychotherapist and the founder of Anchor Light Therapy Collective in Seattle, Washington. And today I am joined by two of my best friends, Shaylee Knudsen and Andy Lucas.
Hello.
And we are continuing our conversation around friendship and the positive impact that it has on our mental health. As a therapist, over the years, I've worked with quite a few clients who they want to make friends. They're maybe even not from this area, but they find it really challenging. Or adults who have lost track of their friends over the years and would like to cultivate relationships with friends as an adult, but find that to be difficult. Mm-hmm. So we're going to continue this conversation, and you both have real friend-making strengths that I want to touch on. So Andy, for you, you were not, unlike me and Shay, you're not originally from the Pacific Northwest.
Correct.
And you have lived in several different cities, starting in Ohio. So I would love to hear what your experience was like moving to different cities where maybe you didn't know anyone and finally settling here.
And everybody always said, wow, you're just fearless. No, I'm afraid I'm not going to get another job, so I'm just going to move to this city. So I grew up in Ohio, and then I moved to Richmond, Virginia, then Boston, then Los Angeles, then here. And each time I was moving by myself. I didn't have a partner moving with me. I had my cats, but I was going alone. And it is weird. I don't know, as the older I've gotten, I don't know if I could do it now. I think it would be very, very difficult. But I had just graduated from college, so it was like, hey, let's go. In Richmond, I was very fortunate because there was another woman who was same exact age, and she was the designer at the magazine where I was working. Her name was Sam, so we both had boy names, and it was just easy, and it just flowed, and then she introduced me to her good friend, and then we all became friends, and it was great. So I was very lucky in that. When I moved to Boston, it was very different. I worked mostly with guys. My roommate was a guy. Anybody that I was kind of friends with was a guy. And so I found this really awesome resource, and it was called greatgirlfriends.com. It doesn't exist anymore. It's turned into helping men find girlfriends or something. But at the time, it was for women to meet other women as friends. And it was awesome. And I found two of my best friends through that website. I don't know why they got rid of it, because it was perfect for somebody. It was just that, like, what do you like to do? All of this. And I did meet a couple of people on there. It was like, this is not a fit. This is weird. But I ended up being friends with, it was fantastic. Then I moved to Los Angeles, and again, it was the same kind of thing where I just didn't know anybody. It was difficult, and I was in a very low place without having female friendships. I relied heavily on talking to my mom and my sister a lot back in Ohio, and it's very hard. And luckily, then somebody came into work. She had just started, and we became very good friends. But it can be sad and lonely, and you feel kind of displaced and confused without having female friendships. Yeah.
And what you bring up about that website, so they have a lot of sites like that today. I think there's Bumble BFF, and there's different ways.
Oh,
I didn't
that's
even know that.
awesome.
Yeah, different ways of connecting with friends. But it does take effort. And I think sometimes there's this myth that people think that friendships are just going to fall into place and that, you don't have to put any effort into it. And that might be true when you're younger. I mean, when we met in 1985, we were just hanging out in our neighborhood.
There was no
There
websites.
were no websites. And it just came together naturally. There was no technology.
Right,
All we
no
had to
cell
do,
phones.
Yeah. But as an adult, your life is very busy. You know, I talk to a lot of moms who feel disconnected.
Yeah.
And they feel kind of awkward, like they're asking their kids' friends' moms to come over, and it feels kind of like a date. But it is kind of like a date. You have to be intentional, and you aren't going to connect with everybody. But there just aren't some people who are good at making friends necessarily, and some people aren't. There are people who value friendship and intentionally look out for it, and then people who don't or just kind of wait for it to come to them. Sometimes it does. Sometimes a great friend just shows up in your life. But usually people are having to make an effort.
Yeah.
Kind of like dating.
Dating.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
And I think there's nothing wrong with trying to put in the effort. I mean, I can't relate to the moms who are inviting their friends, the kids' moms over. Whatever.
I know what you mean.
Thank you. See how accepting my friends are. But you do have to kind of work at it, and there's nothing wrong with that. And even though because it feels maybe kind of awkward when you're kids and you make friends, it does fall into
It
place.
is easier
Yeah.
when you're little.
Because you're there in school and
Exactly.
you're doing the same exact things, and so it makes sense. But when you're an adult, and it's like, hey, do you want to come over?
You have
and
to put
listen
yourself
records?
out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're not just
exactly.
going to come knock on your door. Your
Right.
new BFF
Yes. Hi. You ordered me?
or the
Yeah.
man of your dreams. Exactly the same as
Exactly.
dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and I think that's why we became quick friends, is that we both had a lot of free time because
Yes.
we were both really starting
Yes.
businesses. But we made the effort to hang out together. We went to
Yep.
concerts together. If you were doing some sort of fun activity, you would call and invite me. I would
Yes.
reciprocate that. I introduced you to my friends. I met
Yes.
some of your friends. And so we were both intentionally trying to connect. If we hadn't
Yeah.
done that, and we're both like, well, she should call me, I'm not going to call her, nothing
Right.
would have come of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is part of it, like being vulnerable and being open to it and just seeing what happens.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you don't try, you're never going to really know.
Yeah.
You talk about the free time that we had, and we decided that one summer to get the 20-game flex pass. Maybe it was
To the
15
Mariners.
games.
Yep.
And that became another full-time job,
Yeah.
going to the Mariners games. And we would when we put it on Facebook and put hashtag self-employed.
Yeah.
And somebody said to me later, they were like, and I love how you hashtag unemployed. I said, no.
Self-employed.
I'm no longer friends with him.
Well, Will, and hasn't it evolved? Now either
Yes.
of us have a moment of free time
No.
because these businesses have taken on a life of their own. But during that time, we did get to have that fun, and we were also supporting each other. I mean, there were many
Yes.
times where I was like, I don't know if this business is going to work out.
Right.
And here we are today.
Yeah.
So,
And I absolutely attribute you to me even starting my business, because I was working at a large online retailer here in Seattle and just really struggling. And you said, why don't you just start your own company? What? That was so foreign to me. And you encouraged me and said, you're probably going to cry every day. And it'll probably happen for the first year. And don't worry about it. And it's totally natural. And so it made me feel so comfortable, because you were a couple of years ahead in your business. And so it was just, that was so helpful. I really agree. I think the stars aligned for us to be there as that source of support for each other.
absolutely. And this is how I know you're a true entrepreneur, because when I said you're probably going to cry every day because it's hard, you're like, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway.
That's so true. Oh my God.
You know, that's a hard sell for most people.
You're going to cry every day and you're going to be scared. Okay.
I'm in.
Then
I'm in.
Let me
Yeah. So Shay, you have lived in the Seattle area your entire life, but you have also made some really significant friendships as an adult, but they have come through your work environment. So what do you think, and I think everywhere you've mostly worked at the same company for, has it been over 20
Oh my
years
gosh,
now?
it's been 23 years.
Oh my gosh.
That is awesome.
So I started in my early 20s, very early 20s. And I just, you spend more time at work. I mean, it's a corporate environment, but
Yep.
you spend more time there than
Anywhere else.
anywhere else. You're with those people almost more than your family. And so I just think that having those people around you, to have a support there where you're there all the time.
Yeah.
So it kind of felt like I grew up being friends with Laura, but, growing up as an adult,
Yes.
all those different stages. And so I had my daughter at the same time as my friends at work. We were all pregnant together.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which, and so we started like motherhood,
Yeah.
that whole journey. Then relationships, divorces, or marriages, we
Yeah.
kind of have all gone through the same thing. And it's just been so helpful. Kind of like the daily check-ins with Laura on the phone, I would have daily lunches.
Absolutely.
We would meet in the cafe every day and have our little lunch squad.
You
And
have an ongoing group chat with all the ladies.
I have
right?
I have a text. Well, yeah, I have a text, and we check in several times a day. We talk, not just to talk about work, but talk about
check
work and not work.
Yes.
Just to check in and to stay connected, because we've kind of moved to different departments over the years, so we
Yeah.
don't always work as closely. But I really value that,
Oh, yeah.
and just having that support away from home is just
Yes.
so important.
Yeah.
And someone who at work understands the place where you work, because not every place is
Exactly.
a dream and there's
Exactly.
going to be struggles.
Right.
How has it changed for you because you work from home now?
Yes, now that I am, now we're all working remote since COVID, so
Yeah.
it's just it's different. But knowing that we still have we'll go to Sunday brunch,
Oh, good.
or we'll go to happy hour to stay connected. We try like once a month to
That's
do
perfect.
something where we can, see each other in person because it
Yeah.
is different. It's not the same.
Yeah.
And then also the text chat.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good to have the text chat.
I love that.
Send funny jokes. We're always
Yes.
laughing and staying connected.
Yeah.
But
So-
everyone makes the effort.
Everybody
Yeah.
does.
Yes.
And we all, everybody's busy. So
Yeah.
we do have to find a time that works in everyone's schedule, but everybody's in. They're all, we
Yes.
all show up. And I think
Yes.
that that's really important.
How lucky. I mean, that is really fortunate to be able to have such. And has everybody worked there as
Yes, the
long?
whole time.
Oh my god.
So that's really cool.
That's kind of unheard
Yeah.
of. Like,
Yeah. I feel bad saying they're my work friends because they're not just work friends.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
not just work friends.
But you have work in common with them.
That's what we have in
Yes.
common. Yeah.
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 And a million other things.
And a million
too.
other things. Yeah. Yeah.
And Shay has also brought her work friends to a lot of our bigger
Oh,
friend
yeah.
gatherings, and we love her work friends too. So.
Yes.
They're awesome. Awesome.
your work
Good
buds.
peeps.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've been really celebrating friendship and all the times that it works well, but sometimes it doesn't work out. Have you ever had to break up with a friend before, Andy?
Oh, yes. And, I was saying this, it feels like I'm cold or something, but I am okay releasing a friendship. So when I had moved to Richmond and that Sam was just such a great friend, when I moved to Boston, it was like, this is too difficult to try to keep this up. And so we just kind of let it go. Another time, that one of the great friends that I had in Boston and I moved to LA, she wanted to talk on the phone every night. I'm not a phone person. I don't want to do that. She kind of broke up with me and in fact said to another friend that I was dead to her. And that's fine.
But there was
That's
no
fine.
animosity.
No animosity. But I was okay with it. It's like, look, this isn't working anymore. This isn't helpful to me. It's actually detracting from my life instead of adding to it. So, yeah, and I don't think when you're going to let go of a friendship, you don't need to have the conversation. Like, you don't have to have the breakup. You just let it fade away, as you said.
Distance yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
sometimes you might need to have that
Yes.
conversation. So it
Sure.
really depends on the situation. But I think one thing that you said is that it's if it's taking away from your experience, if it's really stressful for you, I mean, it is okay. Sometimes we outgrow relationships. Sometimes we go different directions. We don't have things in common. And I think people can grieve the loss of a of a friendship too. That it can be it can be difficult to lose friends. But the friends are the people you get to pick, and so
Yes.
sometimes it doesn't work out, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
I have had friends who were really dear friends. I think about one of my friends in Arizona who I would be friends with to this day if we lived in the same area, but we don't. And it really, our lives don't intersect anymore. And I
Yeah.
have, some Facebook contact with her, and I think the world of her. But it is hard to keep up those relationships.
It is.
Yeah.
And especially as we get older, now, like, you have your relation, like my husband, and I run the business, and I have my mom in Ohio and my sister in Ohio, and that's 3 time zones away. Like, I can only do so much where it is difficult if
Yeah.
they're not in the same town. I mean, we're in the same town, and sometimes it's
It's
difficult
still
for
hard.
us to get together.
Yeah.
It's still hard.
And I would never call Andy on the phone. I call Shay on the phone like 4 to 5 times a week probably. And sometimes she'll answer and I'll just be like, I have nothing to say. I'm just calling you. If you're busy,
I'm just
let me
checking
know.
in. I'm just checking in.
But
Yeah.
I know that about you. You don't want to talk on the phone. And
Yeah.
we connect in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And we hang out on the weekends and do fun things. But I respect that that's not how you want to interact. And so there's really no reason to do it. And I appreciate, I'm also very busy, especially with
Yes.
this business. You'll reach out to and ask me to do things. And I have to say no a lot of
Yeah.
times because I'm working. And it doesn't have an impact on our relationship.
Exactly. And that comes back to the flexibility too.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're in very similar situations. You're married running a business. I'm married running a business, right? So it's like, of course, there has to be flexibility
Yeah.
and no hurt feelings if you can't do something.
Right.
And like we've been saying, it requires the effort. We have to plan,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like you have to put it on the calendar. It has to, or it just doesn't happen.
And some of the events that we put on the calendar, there have been many times when I've been like, oh gosh, I'm too tired. This event is today. It snuck up on me so quickly. And I still make myself go and have a fantastic time because you do also have to invest in the relationship. So there has to be that balance of both things.
Yes. One of the things you said to me early on, because I had to cancel on something, so this was 10 years ago, and you were like, don't ever worry about canceling on me. It's okay.
Yeah.
Not that I would do that or ever take advantage of that, but I know that if something has come up and I can't do it, you are, again, not judgmental, very, like, accommodated, like, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, so there's not that pressure.
Because I want that flexibility as well, and I want to be reliable. But sometimes, especially running your own business, things come up, and for other people, I was always jealous of my friends who had kids because they had an out at any time.
Oh, the kid's sick, can't make it.
I've used that excuse at a restaurant before. I'm sorry, the sitter just called. We've got to go. I don't even have kids.
They're never gonna know. But, and I've had friendships that didn't work out where intentionally I distanced myself from it. And it was for the reason that they were expecting something from me that I just really wasn't able to give. And so it felt like it was just not a mutually beneficial relationship.
Yeah.
They were disappointed. I was not showing up in the way that they would like for me to. And so that just is not going to work out.
And that's very difficult. I don't like to feel like I'm disappointing somebody or letting somebody, like, I'm not responsive enough for this person. So then every text starts with I'm so sorry. I apologize. That's not good for anybody. It feels very unhealthy.
And if you're upfront about what people can expect from you, then you won't be disappointed, and then you choose from that place of whether this person is a good fit for me or not. When we were hanging out and going to Mariners games and doing all kinds of things, which was awesome, Shay was busy raising a young child as a single mom, and so her availability was much less.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And so if I had had the same expectations of her as what we were doing, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I did have perfect attendance in high school.
Oh, if Shay
I'm just teasing.
Shay will always show up. If she says she's going to be there, she will be there.
You weren't sick not even one time.
No, I'm really weird. It's still the same at work.
You have perfect attendance at work.
Pretty much.
Oh,
pretty much. It's a sickness, I think.
It is.
It's weird. It's super weird.
We're going to address that
on another episode.
So what's up for you for a breakup? Have you ever had to break up with anyone before? A friend?
I can't think of an example that stands out.
For you, it's been more of like things have just kind of distanced or moved away.
Okay.
Yeah, no big conversations or, but I distanced myself. I haven't heard from them, so I think it was mutual. It just wasn't a good fit.
Yeah. And it does, you're right, there is sometimes a mourning over it because it's like, oh, I wish that could have worked out, but it's okay if it doesn't.
Yeah.
Right. I still think of that person and I still keep, I see them on social media once in a while. I'll reach out, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Have you had to have a conversation before?
I don't think I've ever had a conversation with anyone before. I think it's been more of just kind of like stepping back and then things kind of fizzle. The people I will have conversations with are the people that I actually care about that I want to maintain the relationship with. And I know that there's been probably a handful of times over the years that with each of you and you with me that we've had conversations about like, hey, this is what you can expect from me.
Yeah.
I might not be able to meet this expectations of yours. It's never hostile or contentious. We've never had big blow-ups. But I think there has been a few moments where there's been a little like circling back to say, hey, this is a thing that bothered me. And the only reason I would engage in a conversation like that is because I really do value the relationship.
Yes, and you don't want to like be carrying resentment or like harboring ill feelings because then that just makes it worse. And knowing that there isn't going to be judgment and it's going to be received like, well, thank you for letting me know. Sometimes you don't even know what has
happened.
Exactly. So it helps having somebody voice it.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate.
And I think for us, we really intentionally decided that our friendship, because we did some work together, and I worked with your marketing firm before, and some things were creating tension in that relationship, and we just intentionally decided that our friendship was the most important thing to us.
Yes.
And resolved it that way.
Exactly. Yeah. Inviting me on the boat. I don't know if you remember this. So we were having this issue, and Laura said, well, Lauren try to invite out on the boat, and I was like, I don't think we should go on the boat. And Zach was like, we're going on the boat. Like, and Travis was saying the same thing to you. It was just so funny. And we needed that.
Our guys supported our friendship too.
Absolutely. We just needed to have that, I think, get back to the friend part
Yes.
of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was good stuff.
And then I can't think of any recent conflicts that we've had. When we were
I'm
kids,
sure.
we definitely had conflicts, and it was, we had a group of friends, and we would gang up on each other. And it was
Oh, how
sometimes-
wonderful.
We would take turns ganging up on each other.
But have you, as adults, have the two of you ever kind of gotten in a fight? Was there ever a period where you were intentionally not talking to each other?
No.
Not that I can think of.
No.
No.
That is awesome.
I
No.
just think we really have had a very flexible friendship, and we know each other really
Mm-hmm.
well, so we know exactly what to expect from each other. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that, I'm certain we've, I just think that it's been easy because of that. Maybe we've annoyed each other from time to time, but nothing that ever felt like. And at this point, I mean, we're not gonna
Yeah.
break up now.
Not
so.
now.
No, this is your BH, okay?
It's just a safe space.
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
It does feel safe. Like
Mhm.
I could
Yeah.
share anything and it's okay. There's no
Exactly.
judgment. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I treasure it.
Well, I think that everyone should have a great group of girlfriends. And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't, and you find that there are challenges or obstacles to making friends, what would you recommend for somebody?
Well, I love this idea that there is a Bumble BFF.
Yeah.
That worked so well for me in Boston,
Mm-hmm.
and if you want to have a friendship, like we've said, you have to put yourself out there. You have to be a good friend. So you kind of, I would say, use those things.
Yeah.
Because it can be hard at work. Like maybe, and now a lot of people are remote, but maybe you could ask somebody, hey, you want to go grab lunch or you want
Right.
to grab coffee, and just kind of start with that and see, does the conversation flow naturally? Doesn't feel forced.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I would say.
And that's such a good point too, because when I was younger and had corporate jobs, that's where when I moved to
Mm-hmm.
Arizona, that's how I made friends, as I was at work. And I'm sure at that online retailer that you worked at, that's
We did need to commiserate together.
Yeah.
Mhm. I did make very good friends there, but now that we're not working there, it's kind of, it's different. And you realize that a lot of that was the bonding over being at this really kind of hostile and difficult place
Yeah.
to work. So when that's removed,
you don't
It's-
have the same connection.
yeah.
Right.
And I
Makes
think that
sense.
you can have different types of relationships. Some people are more acquaintance kind of friends, and some people are really
Mm-hmm.
close friends.
Yes.
And some people are work friends, and it doesn't all have to be the same type of relationship.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
I love the idea of Bumble BFF. What about the Seattle Freeze? Was that real to you?
Okay, so I had heard about it. I was very fortunate when I moved up here. My stepsister was living here. She was working at the same online retailer, and she kind of brought me into the fold of her friendship, like all the people at work.
That she was friends with.
Yes, and they welcomed me much the same way that
Yeah.
your friends here have. And it made it so easy that I didn't feel the Seattle freeze
What was
at
the
all.
Seattle Freeze?
So
You've never heard of the Seattle Freeze?
yeah, that where it's like it's hard to get to know people here because they freeze you out,
Yeah.
and they'll
Oh,
be nice
okay.
to you, like, oh hi Shay, and then not
Nothing.
really-
Yeah.
yeah.
Crickets.
That's what I wanted them to name our NHL team, the Kraken. I wanted it to be the Seattle Freeze. I thought that'd be great.
Oh, that is a good
Yeah.
idea.
But I personally did not feel it, but I have seen it. Right. It's
Yeah.
it can be difficult.
Well, it's certainly maybe not the most friendly city in the world, and at the same time, when people come to me and say, it's just really too hard to meet people here, my response is there's a lot of people who aren't from here that are in the
Yes.
exact same
Right.
position as you, and
Yes.
so you want to get online, you want to try to make those connections because it's a very lonely experience to be in a new city. People also want to meet people organically, but the world
real.
the world we live in now
Mm-hmm.
has some serious limitations around that unless you're engaged in like certain activities or clubs or social
Yeah.
circles that allow for that. Use the
Yeah.
resources that you have available to you.
There is Meetup.
Oh, I've
Right.
heard of that one.
Yes, and so Zach, when he had gone through a divorce, he did that, and he loves to play board games, and so he met people that way. He also did another one that was hiking, just to make friends, just to like kind of explore something different. Now, of course, it starts online. You have to go and
Yeah.
find the stuff.
Yeah.
But Meetup has been another good one.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a couple of like travel things where it's for singles and you go and you
Travel in a group.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's another great way to meet people too.
There
But-
are so many avenues for doing it. You just want to put yourself out there. Well, this conversation has been so quick. We're already out of time
Oh
for
my
today. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes.
Thank you for
Unfolding
having
Ground.
us.
I appreciate you and your friendship, and we
Me
will be
too.
back next week for another episode. Thanks for tuning in.